Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's CSCE National Tech Talk webinar. I'm Alan Lloyd. I'm the chair of the CSCE Student Affairs Committee, and I will be your moderator for the next hour. We have a very busy hour planned. CSCE President Gopal Achari will first offer his greetings. And then we will briefly introduce the CSCE, and then the Young Professionals Committee Chair, Rami Mansour, will briefly describe this program. We'll hear from the CSCE student competitions from Brandon Bowles and of CSCE activities in the 2024 CSCE Annual Conference in Niagara Falls next June. And we'll try and answer any questions that you may have about the organization before we finally wrap up. So it's now my pleasure to introduce CSCE President Gopal Achari, who will offer his greetings. The floor is yours, Gopal. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Alan, for being patient. And hello, everyone. On behalf of the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you to this webinar. The CSCE is a storied organization serving the civil engineering community for over 136 years. The society was founded in 1887 and has gone through many changes over the decades and continues to evolve as the needs of the society members change. I think the next stage of technical challenges to the civil engineering community is coming from climate change related impacts. The changing climate and associated unpredictability of weather and its adverse impacts are posing unprecedented challenges to us as engineers. How to design buildings and structures that are climate resistant and how to mitigate and adapt to a changing climate. Such new challenges also pose new opportunities for the next generation of civil engineering graduates like yourselves. I can proudly say that the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering, or CSCE as we lovingly call it, stands with you and for you as you develop engineering solutions for tomorrow. Now, let me talk a little bit about our storied organization. The mission of CSCE is to be a nonprofit learned society which was created to develop and maintain a high standard of civil engineering practice in Canada and to enhance the public image of the civil engineering profession. The CSCE is involved in every discipline of civil engineering with dedicated committees and divisions that our members can join. It's a great way to connect with other professionals in the industry that work in your area, as well as develop networks and linkages. Feel free to join one or more of these committees and divisions of CSCE and see how you can contribute and how CSCE can help you with your career aspirations. The CSCE has 6 regions: Atlantic, Quebec, Ontario, Prairies, and Western, and a catch-all international region. Each region has sections and chapters. For example, the Quebec region has the Quebec section, the Montreal section, the Sherbrooke section, and similarly, all other regions have sections. And each region has a vice president who represents the interest of the region in the CSCE board. The sections are headed by a section chair who report to the regional VP below each section, and below each section are the chapters. If you are a newcomer to CSCE, then perhaps you should start by connecting to your local chapter and attend the many technical presentations that put forward, and then you move up the rungs as your interests evolve. The 2030 CSCE strategic directions basically talks about growing the changing civil engineering community in Canada together, promoting civil engineering to all, leadership and providing leadership in sustainability practices for civil engineering. And we intend to make CSCE a more diverse and equitable organization by pursuing these strategic directions. Why CSCE? CSCE provides opportunities to learn and grow through the many webinars, short courses, and vision, national lecture tours, the conferences. It allows you to connect with your peers and networks with senior members in your profession and to lead through chair positions of sections, chapters, and others. So CSCE provides many opportunities to take on leadership to flourish in this in the technical area that you want to expand upon. And it is an organization, if you join, you will be really happy with. With that, I would like to invite Dr. Mike Bartlett to talk about the CSCE's committee.
Thanks, Gopal, and I'm delighted to say hello to everybody. I'm the current chair of the CSCE's National History Committee, which has been in existence for 40 years now, and really tries to identify and celebrate the significance of the remarkable civil engineering history that has occurred in Canada. One of our main activities is to commemorate national historic sites. And so the photographs on the right-hand side of this slide show two of them. The 1891 Sinclair Tunnel, which goes underneath the Sinclair River between Sarnia and Port Huron. The old tunnel is actually the smaller tunnel on the left-hand side of the picture. And the lower photograph is a picture from Laval, or downtown Montreal, actually, in 2019, where we're unveiling the plaque for the William Collector. So the William Collector is a sewer that was built in 1838 to get nasty, disease-laden water away from the citizens of Montreal. And yes, the National History Committee proudly puts plaques on sewers. We have quite an active National History Committee with 27 members currently from all regions of Canada on it. There are student members and there are representatives of the local sections on the National History Committee. One of the things I'm very proud of is we have a bunch of very active subcommittees. So for example, we have 2 vice chairs, we have a secretary, we have a publications subcommittee that gets particularly busy in March and April to review the papers that come in for annual conferences. We have people who serve as liaison between the annual conference local organizing committee and the National History Committee to help organize the planning of historic site dedications and other things. Many members of the National History Committee are practicing or retired bridge engineers. So we have a historic bridge task group that is categorizing historic bridges using a standardized template. We have about 83 historic plaques around the country, and we monitor them regularly. And so we've got a subcommittee of people who coordinate the monitoring. We have a poster display that travels to conferences and other places. We have special task groups that we form to develop international historic civil engineering landmarks with the American Society of Civil Engineers. The most recent one was recognizing the surveying and mapping of David Thompson as an international historic civil engineering landmark. And we're coordinators of the tripartite ASCE, CSCE, Institution of Civil Engineers in England, Civil Engineering History Webinar, which is a free webinar offered about once every 2 months. If you're interested in history is pretty neat stuff. Get in touch. You can find me and my email address on the CSCE website, www.csce.ca. So with that, I'll pass things over to Rami Mansour, who's the chair of the Young Professionals Committee, and he'll tell you a little bit about the activities of that committee. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Like Mike mentioned, my name is Rami, and I'm the chair of the Young Professionals Committee. So today we'll just go over some of the benefits that our committee works for young professionals. So the YP committee, we're comprised of members from local sections across Canada, and we provide the opportunity for young professionals to share experiences and ideas with other young professionals across Canada, network with experienced professionals and peers, learn about events that are happening locally and across the country. And we also work to improve the experience for young professional members. So that includes gaining support for events and benefits for YP members, both locally and across the country. And we're also able to provide feedback to the CSCE exec team to improve YP member experience. And that's a very important thing because, we provide that connection to people who have been in the industry a lot longer. So next up, there's many ways for that the YP committee works to get young professionals involved within the CSCE. So this includes, but is not limited to at all, to the list that's shown here. So one of the first things is being part of the National Tech Talk series, which is what we're here today. We've provided many talks in the past that are tailored towards young professionals. Some examples are listed here, and that includes, for example, panel discussions on how young professionals can manage expectations, especially in new positions. Having gone through those experiences, we provide both experience viewpoints and also young professional viewpoints. We've done specific talks like how to provide excellent markups, which can be useful and is not necessarily taught in school, so it's a useful skill. And other panel discussions are planned, and we'll be keep in touch with the CSC website and newsletters so that you can hear of the upcoming events that are tailored towards YPs. The second one is that we help promote local sections and work with local sections to try to tailor events towards YPs. So whether that's networking or providing a means of getting the community together and building a strong local community of YPs where you are. And finally, we provide articles in the Canadian Civil Engineering magazine, which bring attention to important topics for young professionals. Some of the topics that we've talked about in the past are shown here. One of them, for example, is the challenging transition from school to work, so that we provide some advice and tips for young professionals. So as I noted, the CSCE Young Professionals Committee creates content for young professional members of the CSCE, include tips on accelerating your career by getting hands-on experience in both corporate and engineering practice side of things. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to visit our website, reach out to the CSCE, reach out to myself. Be more than happy to talk to you and talk more about what we do. And if you want to get involved, how we could do that. So thanks for your time. Now I'll turn it over to Brandon Bowles, who is the co-chair of the CSCE Competition Committee.
So my name is Brandon, and I am the co-chair of the CSCE Students Competitions Committee. So I got involved in this committee as an undergraduate student, in the competitions as an undergraduate student, as one of the co-captains of the McMaster University Steel Bridge team. And now I've been on the Student Competitions Committee as a volunteer for about 2 years now. So I'm just going to take everyone through a quick little video slideshow today, showing everybody kind of about what the competitions are about, what we do, and then just some pictures from this year's competition and at Western University. So the competition starts off with registration the night before. So the first full day of competition for both the Steel Bridge and the Concrete Canoe teams is the display day event. And this is where teams get to show off their bridges to the competitors for their first time. So bridge teams are judged on this day on aesthetics, and this is where we kind of differ from the American competition where they kind of focus more on the load test. We like to focus on both. So brand new for this year, we also asked teams to create an elevator pitch for their bridges. And this is where they were asked to sell their bridge to an owner, in this case, which are the judges. So we thought this was a great opportunity for teams to not only practice presenting their presentations in a less formal setting, and also and practice presentations in a less formal setting than the oral presentation component. So the concrete canoes are also judged on display day. So this is where teams are judged on their concrete cylinders, their concrete density, as well as the canoe's finish and weight. So presentations are also a very important component for both competitions, and this provides an opportunity for teams to highlight the judges what makes their projects unique from their competitors, as well as kind of go through how they plan, design, and construct their concrete canoes or bridges. So the second day of competition is primarily for the Steel Bridge teams, and this is started off by with them completing a timed assembly of their bridges. So this photo shows Laval University assembling their bridge. So all the bridges are comprised of these modular components, and this year's winner assembled their bridge in less than 12 minutes. So assembly is quite fast and quite coordinated, and teams often practice for many hours prior to competition. And so throughout this process, we have judges that make sure the teams are following the rules, and as well as assembling their bridges safely. And so we try our best to mimic kind of a real construction scenario. So teams are penalized for things like dropping bolts, as well as working in restricted areas. So kind of a new component we decided to add into the competition this year was circular engineering category. And this required teams to consider the entire life cycle of the bridge. So this included a deconstruction of the bridge under different site conditions as when it was built. So when the bridges are built, teams have to navigate a river. So this year teams had to, so this year under deconstruction, we made the river wider. So this was there to kind of mimic a changing site conditions due to climate change from when a bridge was built to eventually when it's replaced. So the final portion of the competition is the load test. So this is where teams are first judged in the lateral deflection of the bridges. The teams then load their bridges with 2,500 pounds of steel angles by themselves, and then they're judged in the vertical deflection. So both the vertical and lateral deflections are captured and used for their overall score. So as you can see from the picture here, we provide buckets in case of the bridge collapsing. So last year we had no bridges collapse, but we had a few that were very close to it. And also in the past, we've had up to a quarter of our bridges collapse during competition. So the third and final day of competition is the race day for the concrete canoes. So this is where teams get to see their hard work and fruition come together. So teams compete in 3 different categories. So there's the sprint races, time trials, and finally the co-ed races. So teams will compete in heat races throughout the day, which lead up to the finals for each category at the end. And so these races are a great way to show off how well teams' canoe is designed, as well as how well their paddlers have trained throughout the year. So these races also provide a great opportunity to see how well your team's canoe compares to the other competitors, and also to learn things on how to improve your canoe for next year. So the final event for each of the competitions are the banquets. So outside of recognizing the top 5 or top 3 in each competition, we recognize many different other award categories. We think it's really important to reward teams for important achievements such as innovation and competitive spirit. So this picture here shows the winners of the 2023 Steel Bridge competition, and that's the University of Puerto Rico. And this picture here shows the winners of the 2023 Concrete Canoe competition, and that is the University of Sherbrooke. So a new competition that we're going to be running for the 2023-2024 year is the Canadian Water Treatment Competition. So this is where teams are required to design and construct a water treatment system using materials commercially available to the public. And this is for an artificially contaminated water mixture. So the teams would be judged on their effluent water quality, design report, poster, and more. So this is a great opportunity for students with practical design experience in water resource engineering. And the inaugural competition will be held at Laval University, along with the Steel Bridge and Concrete Canoe competitions. For more information on starting a team at your university, please contact the email below. So how to get involved in either the Steel Bridge or Concrete Canoe competitions. So the first thing you can do is look up the Steel Bridge or Concrete Canoe teams at your school. And if your university does not have a team, you're welcome to start one. We have lots of resources through webinars, as well as members of the committee who have also had experience starting teams that can help you out. So if you're interested in starting a team, feel free to contact us at any of our social media channels, so either Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at the following emails below. So both competitions, just to kind of conclude here, are a lot of fun and a very rewarding experience to compete in, which is why I got involved in my undergrad, and which is why the rest of the committee and I volunteer for the competition now that we've graduated. So thank you everyone for listening, and I hope to see everyone in Laval in 2024.
Thanks, Brandon. Really interesting stuff. A reminder that the 2024 CSCE annual conference will be held June 5th to 7th in Niagara Falls. And the conference theme is adapting to changing climate, technology, and growth. There will be 7 specialty conferences held at that time. Conferences for cold regions, engineering management, environmental, hydrotechnical, mechanics and materials, structures, and transportation. This conference is an opportunity not only for people presenting technical information, but there's a good opportunity for professional networking, and student chapters. People involved in their student chapters should consider sending representatives to that conference to keep involved in a national network. Abstracts for the conference for the technical sessions are due November 10th, and you can see the website here, CSCE 2024 Niagara.ca, for more information. In order to participate in things like webinars, steel concrete bridges, and regional and local CSCE events, you require student membership. And student memberships are free for students. So CSCE memberships are free for students. And it's time to get that membership or renew it now. There's an October 1st deadline for 2023 memberships. After October 1st, the membership system is switching over to new technology. So sometime around December 1st, memberships will open up again for 2024 memberships. Anybody stuck in that window in between can reach out to admin@csce.ca to get more information and to get a membership in the interim time. So at this point, we're going to open it up for any question and answers from anybody who is participating in this. And once again, you can put those Q&A questions in your Q&A. So I will get things rolling here, and I'm going to ask Brandon Bowles a question about the steel bridge and concrete canoe and water treatment competitions that are going on soon here, and specifically about how can universities that have never done this before develop the resources to start a team. It seems like a pretty big endeavor.
Yeah, so it is a big process, but we have a lot of things in place to help teams out. So me being someone who also started a team at McMaster back in the day, there's a lot more stuff in place now than there was back then. So what we have is we have informative webinars that teams are able to access. So if they email us showing interest in the competition, we'll send them a copy of the rules along with links to webinars where they can watch them and then ask us questions after. And so that has everything in there from kind of how to recruit members to how to raise funds through sponsorship to run the team, as well as we also go through things like how to design bridges or canoes and stuff like that to kind of help teams get going. So that's kind of stuff we put in place so that any new teams have a kind of a launching pad to get involved in the competition.
That's great. And I see a question about membership, and to clarify my statements, on October the 1st, the old system for obtaining CSCE membership, which we've determined is quite cumbersome, is being retired, and a new system is being implemented in and around December. So my understanding is up until October the 1st, you are still getting 2023 memberships. And then in 2024, you'll need to get a new membership with the new system. If anybody's directly impacted by that transition time, they can reach out to admin@csce.ca to get membership in between that time. But student membership is free, and you can come back in early 2024 or late 2023 and get that 2024 membership. A second question says, I'd like to know if the CSCE helps graduate students in terms of mentoring and helping out with getting jobs in the engineering field. And perhaps maybe if Rami is still here, that might be a good chance to answer that question.
Sure. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the main things that we do at the YP committee. We try to create a forum for people who are transitioning from like student academia to the industry. And the way we try to do that is by working with local sections. So for example, I'm in Montreal. So in Montreal, we'll try to work with the local CSE section to create events. That could be networking events, that can be events where you just meet your own peers and see what everyone else is doing, presentations on projects that are going on in the area, which you can go to attend and then be able to talk to the people who are there afterwards. And we also, apart from the local section events, we try to put together these National Tech Talk presentations where we talk about what are some tips. We've done one, like, for example, how to improve your resume, right? Where we go through like do's and don'ts. So we're always trying to provide content that can help. I mean, we don't necessarily, we're always just trying to help create connections, create a network. And that's another nice thing with young professionals. If you're a member of the CSCE and you want to have ideas for the young professionals, you can always reach out to us. How can we help, right? We're here to help transition you into the industry and into the CSCE. So always happy to hear new suggestions.
Thanks, Rami. And I'll note that often it is all about that network for getting these jobs and for moving around in industry. CSCE is a great way to develop that network, especially transitioning from a university student or a graduate student from another country, perhaps, and then meeting the people who are active members of the engineering community in your regions. CSCE encourages students to be active in the in their sections as well. So if the terminology is basically, we at every university we get a student chapter, and then in each sort of municipality we or in sort of combination of municipalities we might have a section, and then there's a region, which is almost like a province. And so these are just different levels of the CSCE organization. And often we find that student chapter leaders end up becoming the leaders in the sections and the regions because they get involved through these networking events. And there's a lot of encouragement for these events to be, I guess, cross-pollinated from industry and students involved together. Additional resources for making those networks is really through the student chapter itself. Some student chapters have had great success with hosting job fairs, and really that depends on the size of the city that the chapter's in, most chapters will host a variety of different networking events with industry and students involved together, often in the form of a banquet or technical talks, lunch and learn sessions. And I encourage any student chapter members that might not be familiar with what they can be doing to reach out to me, and I could share some information what worked best from people in the past, and those all lead to getting those jobs, developing the networks, and seeing what's going on out there. So we still have a little bit of time, and maybe I can go back to Brandon again and ask about if students are looking to start teams in the bridge or the canoe and now in the water treatment area. Do you have any advice for how they can approach to find advisors in industry or in their university, experts who know better about how to make things out of steel or concrete? Are there supports for networks of steel manufacturers or anything like that or partners that we can help them with?
In terms of advisors for the competition, we kind of recommend reaching out to graduate students within your department or engineer or professors who are kind of in that area. But what we like to do is we like to encourage teams to kind of do the innovation themselves. A lot of the things in this competition are very much kind of like they're kind of like you learn it as you go. So it's kind of, it's more important that they maybe get in touch with other teams or maybe get in touch with us on the committee, and we can kind of help them through the process. In terms of getting industry involved, it's very important that teams get sponsorship packages together as soon as possible, and so they can start reaching out to kind of local companies in their areas, getting in touch with companies. And it's very often that you'll find like alumni of these competitions within these companies, and a lot of times they might want to get on board and kind of take an extra step to help these teams out.
That's great. Yeah, I know that relatively locally to me, we have a structural steel manufacturer that's interested in providing advice and maybe even offering training how to weld to students and things that they might not have access to in their universities. So some universities have the ability to host students going into their machine shops and structures labs to build components, and others might struggle. So I think everybody has a unique challenge there, and there are solutions to those challenges if anybody's trying to start up teams in any of these areas. And it's really a matter of asking around and seeing where you can get the resources you need to build these things and to learn how to build them as well.
Definitely, yeah.
And out of curiosity, do you know off the top of your head how many students participated in the competitions last year?
So I think it was around 100. I think it was around 200 students, and around almost 400 students in total between the two competitions.
So around 400 students attended the competition. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think it was before we had COVID. I think it was a little bit. It was around there, but then obviously it got stopped for a while. So that's great that it's growing back so well.
Yeah,
and I expect at least that many in Laval, which is another great networking chance. This is an opportunity for students to meet the other high achievers and interested people from other institutions and develop that national network as well. Okay, I'm going to seeing no other questions and answers from the audience right now. I'm going to ask if Gopal is still around. I'm going to throw a softball at you if you're available for a question. I wonder if you can tell us, based on what we've seen today and what you understand, what would be, the primary values that are, I guess, the benefits that students can get out of joining the CSCE at this stage in their careers.
Thank you, Alan. I think the benefits are huge for students and young professionals in joining CSCE. The most important benefit is the ability to connect with from coast to coast to coast with other civil engineers who are like-minded, who are practicing in this particular area. So if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for advice, if you're looking for understanding how does a particular technical problem addressed, and workshops, understanding concept, this is the one and only forum that's provided across in Canada for all civil engineers. So that benefit itself is worth its weight. The other thing is things like ability to come to the conference. You as a CSCE member, you will get a discount on the conference publications eventually when you and then as you and network with the whole community, and obviously all these webinars, TED Talks, all this these are all accessible to the young professionals and student members. There are many opportunities for leadership development. Like CSCE is a huge organization. It's a small national body, but it's got chapters, it's got regions, it's got sections. One can participate in those and take up leadership positions at a local level, and then eventually go on to regional and even national level. So there is tremendous amount of leadership opportunity development that exists within CSCE, because it's a very democratic and a very flat organization, and flat in the sense that the decision making, a lot of it flows from bottom up. So I think from a career perspective, for those who are planning to continue to practice in civil engineering, I think the benefits are huge. That is this thing, right? Not just peers, but also mentors, and you can connect to a whole network of people. So those are the benefits, Alan, that I think one can explore. I joined CSCE personally about more than 20 years ago. I really have benefited from it. I actually look forward to going to the conference because it's more like a family. I know the people, I know, and I can always draw on people, talking about, okay, what about this particular issue? Like I was talking to somebody about, some of these natural hazards that are occurring, right? We have the Envision program where they can get the student members can get trained for how to implement the Envision, sustainability concepts. So there are a lot of those opportunities, not just on the learning side, but also on networking, learning, informal learning from mentors and peer-to-peer connections. I think we can just, anybody who wants to take advantage can really take advantage of the different things that CSCE offers.
That's great. A very comprehensive answer. Thank you. With that said, I think that some students out there might be from institutions that don't have a tremendously active chapter, or maybe they don't have a chapter at all. And I will say it's really easy to start a chapter. We don't really have an official template or anything to go by, but it would just be as simple as, you know, reaching out to me directly, or going to talk to your department and talk to somebody in your department and say, you know, who would be an academic advisor for this chapter, and they'll know what you mean. And then at that point, you know, there's resources there. There's most universities have funding mechanisms for clubs and societies, and there's revenue generating resources where you can have you know, barbecues and things like that to generate some fundraising for different activities that you do. But really, it doesn't take much work to start something or to reinvigorate a CSCE chapter. There's two aspects to it. There's technical aspects where you can bring in people to do technical talks. You can go on tours. You can you know, do a variety of things like that. And I'm happy to provide some very good examples from other schools that have done well at this in the past. And then there's social aspects. And so the CSCE is not just technical, it's a lot about networking. So it gives you the chance to talk to other people in your school that you might never talk to otherwise, and people from all different you know, years, first year through fourth year, and graduate students as well can become part of the organization. So really, you get the chance to host social events, and they can be all sorts of, I won't tell you how to have a good time. I hope that you can do that as students yourself. But if you do it under the banner of CSCE, that's, you know, that's part of it. That's the networking part. So I have a question here saying, what's the best way to reach out to me with regards to restarting a university chapter? And my name is Alan Lloyd, ALANLLOYD. So if you put ALAN.LLOYD at unb.ca is the best way. You can also find me on the student affairs section of the CSCE website. So, you know, I can be tracked down, or if you go and ask at an advisor in your university, you know, how do I get involved in this? They've probably got an email from me in the past about CSCE activities. So track me down, send me an email, and we'll get going and try and reinvigorate some chapters. And there's quite a few chapters out there that are looking for reinvigoration after you know, remote learning times and stuff where things have slowed down. So there's another question about establishing an American Society of Civil Engineers office beside the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering at UBC. So how would ASCE and CSCE offices support each other? What would be operational logistics for both of these at the local level? And is there room for local chapters or equivalents of ASCE? So the answer to that is oftentimes there's a need to have an ASCE chapter for institutions that want to participate in American activities, like the steel bridge and concrete canoe competitions are also held in the United States. And so teams will become, there will be chapters for ASCE and CSCE, and how you become an ASCE chapter is up to the ASCE, but there is a mechanism there, and it has to do with gathering enough members and you know, showing sustainability of your chapter. There is no reason why you can't have both organizations. The CSCE is far more predominant in Canada, and its ASCE is in the US for obvious reasons there. But I think that often members of CSCE and ASCE student chapters would often be similar people, or maybe the same people for a lot of these roles are sort of co-listed, where presidents and vice presidents are doing a bit of double duty there, depending on what the ASCE goals are. But they could be independent as well, and there's no reason not to. I would encourage CSCE to be the primary student chapter for civil engineering type events at these institutions, given that they're Canadian institutions and it's a Canadian chapter. But perhaps, Gopal, do you have anything to say about the you know, agreements between CSCE and ASCE and how we work together as institutions? And you're muted.
So, yeah, so we do have arrangements with CSC and ASC, and our members do get discounts in there. In the past, we have had joint conferences, but not much in the recent past. It's been going back quite a bit of time. There is opportunities to become members of both if that's what students are thinking about. If a situation like that comes, maybe somebody can contact me and or Bill Rennie at the CSCE.ca, and we can give more information, perhaps give some more tailored information to the specific kind of questions, right? There are a lot of these agreements we have, chapters we have in international and so on. So if there's anybody who needs specific information, we can provide that more accurate, and also help them link with the right person in the different organizations, right?
Mhm. That's great. I think at this point,
I was just going to hop in and say that the UBC question is an interesting one. I know that the CSCE chapter at Western is considering forming an ASCE chapter as well. And as you said, Alan, it's entirely targeted towards becoming eligible to compete in the American bridge building and canoe competitions. And so if somebody wants to send me an email from UBC, I can try to put you in touch with people, students in the CSCE chapter at Western who might be able to give you some insight about the experiences that they've had here. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. There's a lot of institutions that do have these chapters as well, or at least used to. I know that Laval, ATS, Waterloo, where I am at UNB, we used to have a chapter, but we since let it expire. So there's a lot of other schools that have these chapters as well. So if anybody's thinking about why they need one and struggling to get one going, they could reach out to Mike Bartlett or me or Gopal, and we could provide some resources and maybe some people who have done it before to ease the process. So with that, I think we're going to finish up with the question and answer and move on with a few other things in this presentation. So I'll share my screen again. CSCE members in good standing are able to attend these webinars, including students. So a student's membership is free, then CSCE student members can attend these webinars and benefit from that. I'll also note something that earlier on the benefits of organizations like the CSCE is when students move into industry and become practicing engineers, we're required to do continuing education and professional development. And events like the CSCE technical talks count as professional development hours towards professional licensure requirements. So joining and participating in organizations like the CSCE can really aid your professional development, both in obtaining and retaining your professional license. And we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our corporate partners. Here are the logos of some of them. And here are the logos of the rest. So with that, thank you for joining us today. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing all of you again on the 27th.